I died once, and I met the devil. And that's not even the worst part. The worst part is what happened when I came back to life. It happened on a dark and stormy night. I was driving home from work, the rain battering against my windshield like angry fists. I remember thinking to myself that I should have stayed at the office a little longer, waited for the storm to pass. But I was tired, and all I wanted was to get home, take a shower, and crawl into bed. I never made it home. A flash of lightning illuminated the road ahead, and I saw the tree branch too late. It crashed through my windshield, shattering the glass, and everything went black. When I woke up, I was somewhere else. It was dark, but not completely dark. There was a faint light like a candle flickering in the distance. I could hear something, too. It was a low, rumbling voice, and it was speaking in a language I didn't understand. I tried to move, but my body felt heavy and unresponsive. It was like I was paralyzed. Then I saw him, standing in the shadows. The devil. He was tall and thin, with skin as black as obsidian. His eyes were glowing red, and his teeth were sharp and pointed. He spoke again, and this time I could understand him. "Welcome," he said. "You're dead, you know." I nodded, or at least I tried to. What's going to happen to me? The devil smiled, and it was a smile that chilled me to the bone. "Oh, don't worry," he said. "You're going to live again, but first you have to make a choice." He held out his hand, and in it was a small golden key. "This key will unlock the door to heaven," he said. "Take it, and you'll be welcomed into paradise for all eternity." I reached out to take the key, but then he spoke again. "Or you can choose the other door, the one that leads to hell." I hesitated. I didn't want to go to hell, but I didn't want to give up on heaven either. The devil laughed. "Ah, I see. You want to know what's behind each door, don't you?" I nodded again. "Very well," he said. "I'll tell you. Behind the door to heaven is eternal bliss. You'll be surrounded by loved ones, and you'll never want for anything ever again. It's a beautiful place, truly." He paused, and then he continued. "But behind the door to hell, that's where the real fun is. There's fire and brimstone, of course, but there's also pain and suffering beyond your wildest imagination. It's a never-ending nightmare in which you'll be trapped there forever." I shuddered. I didn't want to go to either place, but I knew I had to choose. I took the key, and I turned it in my hand. The metal was warm, almost hot to the touch. Then I made my decision. "I choose heaven," I said. The devil laughed again. "You humans are so predictable," he said. "But I respect your decision. Here's what I'm going to do. I'll send you back to the land of the living, but you'll have a little gift from me, a reminder of your time here." He reached out and touched my forehead, and suddenly I felt a burning sensation. It was like my skin was on fire, and I screamed in pain. Then everything went black again. When I woke up, I was in a hospital, surrounded by machines beeping and doctors talking in hushed tones. They told me that I had been in a terrible car accident and that I had been in a coma for several days. But I was alive, and that's all that mattered. At first, everything seemed normal. I went back to work, started hanging out with my friends again, and tried to put the whole ordeal behind me. But something was different. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but I felt changed. It started with the nightmares. Every night, I would dream of the devil, his glowing red eyes and sharp teeth looming over me. In the dreams, he would whisper to me, telling me that I belonged to him now, that I had made a deal with the devil that I couldn't escape. Then the visions started. I would be walking down the street, and suddenly I would see flashes of fire and brimstone, of tortured souls screaming in agony. I would hear the devil's voice in my head, telling me that he was always watching and waiting. I tried to ignore it, tried to tell myself that it was just my imagination, but it was always there, lurking in the back of my mind, waiting to pounce. And then came the accidents. They were small at first, just little things like stubbing my toe or burning my hand on the stove. But then they got worse. I fell down the stairs and broke my arm. I cut myself with a knife while cooking and had to get stitches each time. I could feel the devil's presence, could hear his laughter in my head. I knew that he was punishing me for choosing heaven, for not being brave enough to choose hell. I tried to go back to the devil, to ask him to release me from my contract, but he was nowhere to be found. I searched high and low, but he was always just out of reach. And so I was trapped, stuck in a never-ending cycle of nightmares, visions, and accidents. I tried to end it all, to take my own life and escape the devil's grasp. But each time I tried, I would wake up in the hospital, alive and more cursed than ever before. Now, as I sit here, writing this story, I can feel the devil's eyes on me. I know that he's still watching, still waiting, and I know that someday he'll come back for me to claim what is rightfully his. So, if you're reading this, know that I made a mistake. I chose the wrong door, and now I'm paying the price. Don't make the same mistake that I did. Don't make a deal with the devil, no matter how tempting it may seem, because once you're in his grasp, there's no escaping.